Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly joining us on the program. How optimistic are you, Coach, that we're going to start on time when you face Navy?
I'm optimistic that we're going to start. Then students get on campus and our guys move off campus. Essentially, Dan, we leave the bubble and start the season. So, unlike maybe some of the professional teams like the NHL or the NBA, they move into a bubble and start their season. College football leaves the bubble and starts the season. So we'll get to the starting line. We'll see what happens after that.
But what is your message, and what will your message be to your athletes once school starts and campus activities, going off campus, socializing?
What's your priority? If you want to play college football this fall, you'll have to do the things that you've done over the last 4 weeks, and the numbers speak for themselves, right? We've already, said that you can do this, but you've done it in a confined environment. But they have had to do the things necessary, right? They've stayed out of the bars, they've stayed away from parties, social distancing, wearing masks, washing hands, all the things that we already know, right? We've heard that day in and day out. They'll have to continue that discipline, and there's going to have to be peer accountability. Guys are going to have to say to other guys, you can't do that because I want to play this fall. And if you do that and you get me sick, I'm not going to be happy. So a big dose of peer accountability, a good dose of guys wanting to play the season is really going to be about what happens when the season starts.
Have you started practicing?
No, we have not. We're in strength training and conditioning. And really, it's about 4 weeks in. Most football programs would normally get about 8 weeks, Dan, prior to their first padded practice. So, we still got some work to do relative to the time off. Remember now that no spring practice, no real designated off season. These guys were deconditioned a little bit. So we're getting back there, but we still need a little bit more time to continue to condition our athletes.
Whose protocols are in place, Notre Dame's or the NCAA's?
Notre Dame's. So this has really been driven by each institution. Certainly, there's an eye towards the state's CDC guidelines, and certainly the NCAA has some. One in particular would be the 72-hour testing mandate, where all teams must be tested 72 hours prior to competition. But by and large, this has been, Dan, about the institutions putting together their own procedures and protocols as it relates to how to keep their football team safe and healthy.
What about non-conference games being canceled by, we've seen this with the Pac-12, the Big Ten. How's that affecting Notre Dame?
Well, certainly as an independent, we we lose some of those natural rivalries that we've played for years. Certainly the USC game, certainly Stanford. We will not play Wisconsin, but we have a collateral agreement with the ACC, and so we will lean heavily on that. Jack Swarbrick has certainly been involved in that in terms of setting up a schedule. We feel very confident, Dan. At the end of the day, we're going to have a very competitive schedule using ACC as a really good partner in this whole scheduling for us moving forward. Now, there are conferences that haven't come out with not wanting to give up those non-league games, and so those stay on the table for us as well. So we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, could you see where the SEC just says we're playing football, whether the Pac-12 or Big 12 or Big 10? We talked to Commissioner Sankey that I don't know if they ruled it out, but could you see where a conference just says we're taking care of our own here?
Yeah, certainly. I could see that. There's some natural rivalries, right? That the ACC and the SEC has, right? The South Carolina Clemson game. Kentucky Louisville. Florida against Florida State. We have Arkansas on our schedule this year, so that's conceivable that those games may want to stay on the schedule. So, as I said, I think the SEC is evaluating the landscape in our country and where we are, and I think the ACC may be doing that as well. So I think you'll see some things that will start to clear up over the next week.
Was there a chance you were going to play Alabama?
No, I don't believe we've got them scheduled down the road here in a couple of years. So I think that was going to be suffice for us, and certainly those are the kind of games we want to play. We've got Ohio State coming on our schedule, Wisconsin, Alabama in a couple of years. So I don't believe that that was going to happen. When you're a non, when you're an independent and you have an open schedule, everybody's going to look towards Notre Dame as being the first one that you fill it with.
We're talking to Brian Kelly, the Notre Dame head coach, who I believe, did you start your coaching career coaching women's softball?
I did. Yeah. It was it was a great experiment for me. More than an experiment, I think it really laid the foundation for me in terms of wanting to be around people that just love to play. And the ladies that I coached loved to play the game. There was no moving on to the professional ranks. It was playing the game because they loved to play. And I think that that's what really kind of energized me in my coaching profession, is that I wanted to be around people that just enjoyed to play and had that genuine fire for the game itself.
And you had stops along the way: Cincinnati, Central Michigan, Grand Valley State, where you won a couple of national titles. You get to Notre Dame. And I think we discussed this before. Like, does the competitor say, now I want to see what I would do in the NFL? Like, do you harbor those thoughts, that competitiveness that you say, okay, let me see if I could do it in the NFL?
I think I did at times. I don't anymore, because I think I've got a better sense and understanding of what the NFL model looks like, and I'd much prefer to have. And this isn't to be said in a manner that I want control, but I do like the fact that I can have say over my roster, that I do have say over who I recruit on a day to day basis, and in some senses you probably wouldn't have it, and certainly I wouldn't, as a first time NFL head coach, have that kind of say and control over the fate of where my program would go, or in that sense franchise. So I really like that, and having 30 years in college football invested in having those kind of decisions, it's really difficult to move in another direction.
Uh, we've talked about the changing of the guard, the new guard of quarterbacks coming in, and I'm curious, you being an offensive-minded guy, the quarterback you're bringing in, is it kind of reflective of what the NFL is looking for success there with Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, that dual threat?
It's interesting that we have these conversations because for the last 3 to 5 years, everyone had been saying, we'll never go to the college type quarterback in the NFL. He'll never make it. He'll never get through. He'll never get through the season. And now it's certainly it's the best athlete, right?
Yeah.
If you're in high school, who touches the football every time? It's not the corner. It's the best athlete is the quarterback. And whether it's Cam Newton or whether it's Jackson, Mahomes just got paid. I think he's a pretty good athlete. It's going to be about a guy that can extend and keep plays alive outside the realm of what that guy drew up on the board. We're only as smart as the guy that can keep the play alive, and that's the quarterback that's a dual athlete.
Yeah. Did you recruit any of these guys? Were you in on any of these players at Notre Dame?
I think in some instances, if you look across the board, there's a number of guys that we had conversations with that are in the NFL today. But quarterbacking is such inexact science at that age. You know what I mean? Everybody has, it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so we have conversations with a number of guys across the board. I remember when Aaron Rodgers was coming out of junior college and I was at Central Michigan, we made a call into him, and he wasn't going to leave the West Coast, and so those kinds of conversations happen throughout recruiting. Whether you actually had any kind of chance of getting those quarterbacks is hard to say, but had probably conversations with 10 or 15 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Tom Izzo, the Michigan State head coach, said it still haunts him that he missed out on Chris Webber. Is there a player that still haunts you that you missed out on?
Oh my! After doing it for 30 years, probably. I don't know if you know the story, but I was at Central Michigan, and we recruited J.J. Watt, and we signed J.J. Watt at Central Michigan, and then I left to take the job at Cincinnati, and J.J. Watt left to go to Wisconsin. I would have, in retrospect, I would have packed. I would have packed him up in my suitcase. Guys like that are once in a lifetime having a chance to coach a guy like that. So those are the ones that come back to you sometimes.
Yeah, but Coach, you had him as a tight end, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, but he was going to move. But I had Jason Kelce as a quarterback, so how smart am I? Guys, you recruit them, and you start them in a position, and they eventually move one day.
Yeah, Travis Kelce was an unbelievable athlete. Well, he is an unbelievable athlete.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. We had him as our goal line quarterback as a true freshman, and we knew that he wasn't going to last very long at the quarterback position. But he was such a great athlete. We could have played him anywhere.
Coach, good to talk to you. Hopefully we're this optimistic as we get ready to start the season. Do you know if you're starting on September 5th or 6th against Navy?
We really don't know now. I mean, once we've obviously, had the non-league games taken away from us in a large degree, our calendar will be probably decided a lot by what the ACC schedule looks like. So sometime next week, we'll have a better understanding of when we start.
Yeah, can you call me and just let me know so I can plan? That's a game I like to watch, Naval Academy
No doubt.
against Notre Dame. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. That's Coach Brian Kelly.